All right, guys. So it's 4:46, and it was like 4:44 when I looked down at the clock after I finished my little affirmation prayer about my son growing up and hoping that he can see, like he wises up. He wisen up. That's what I said. And I say a little prayer like to cover him and protect him. Like should anything happen to me, and he's still alive, much later on in life, and like someone I believe was watching spiritually. I heard Ashe after I finished it, and it didn't come from me. But I said a prayer that he would be wise and see things clearly for what they are. And something else I said in the prayer, but it's sealed already what I prayed. But it was mostly because I see this group right here. Hold on, let me turn it down because I don't want to be too loud for you guys. You see how they're just having fun, but to me it just looks stupid. No offense, like sometimes people do silly things, but it's just a crowd of I'm calling them kids, but I'm pretty sure they're young adults. But they most of them at least look younger than myself at least, and still young but older than them. But the thing is, sometimes like when you get in groups, well, I've had the experience of when it's been like groups like of people or it's like a lot going on, it's like it's always some what people call riffraff. There's always something going on, like say like it's always some sort of inside joke bullying going on at some point. Not always, but a lot of the times, especially when it's a bunch of hip hop type of fit in the crowd type of kids or people in general hanging around. It's like, for instance, I'll just say it's the devil's playground. It's like this is like literally a doorway for somebody to, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a scene of a movie. Something like this is happening. Everybody seeming like they having fun. I was gonna say jigging and enjoying themselves, but it's like just silly fun, just doing something just to be doing it. That's what it looked like because they ain't really doing nothing, and it almost could be some type of ritual, or somebody could be like, you know, celebrating for what they about to do next. It's like I pick up on that kind of energy. And I'm not trying to be like a negative Nancy, but it's been too many times where I was going somewhere to hang out and party with somebody, a friend of mine, and I had this innocent mindset, and I was sort of naive, and it never was a good thing to be that way. No matter how peaceful I might have been, there was always someone lurking, waiting, trying to see who they can devour. And it was never a good thing. So that's why I'm saying that prayer, and I will be saying stuff like that I'm hoping that for other people out there in the world who care about their child or their children the way I care about my kids. I think about this type of stuff even more now than I used to before I had children or a kid. I mean, well, before I had a kid. I only have one kid right now. But I just think about that stuff, and I think about all the parents out there that's probably lost a child of theirs to some stupidity of some children or some young adults trying to fit in the crowd and try to do stuff and be too grown. You know what I mean? Like try to think they doing something when they ain't really doing nothing. You know how it is. I don't really want to get into it, like, but it's always involving sex and drugs and stuff like that. And like somebody getting their feelings is easy for spirits or entities to take over, and something happens that don't have to happen. And I hate that kind of stuff when I think about that, because I know, like, I see too many sad stories with things ending that way when it didn't have to. And it seemed like it's real heavy. I'm not even going to say in the black community, in the hood community. Because it's like, this is, I dated an ex, he glorified stuff like hood parties being real freaky, everybody effing on everybody, orgy and stuff. I pray to God that my son don't feel like I want to create an environment that he doesn't have to feel like he needs to gravitate towards that part of life. Like he can still have fun and have his friends, but I'm finally starting to be in mom mode where I'm thinking for my son's future, like of the type of people he hang out with. He'll be 3, but I want to hopefully be here to see him most of his way so that I can encourage him along his journey to, to like bring him up properly where he doesn't feel like he has to gravitate towards that stuff so he can feel like an astute man and, don't have to feel like he needs to be around gangsters to be accepted and approved, because I see like I went that way, and it was a lot of it had to do with how my childhood was. And I felt like maybe if I hung out with the hood gangster people that I could be somebody, or I'll earn my respect finally that I didn't have growing up, because I was always looked over, bullied, or overlooked is what I meant to say at times. So not all the time. And if somebody saw my beauty, it was always a bad thing. That's why hearing the word "you're beautiful" to me growing up, it was a bad thing, because people took advantage of using that word, and it was not a good thing to be beautiful, especially around men who were sexually deviant in the past. And yeah, well, I hope that other people. I just be sitting here thinking of that. I don't know. This is a random rant, but yeah, I just want my son to know in the future I thought the best for him. And I'm not trying to say it like something about to happen to me right now or something, but it's just like you never know in this world, and you never know what God's plans are. And I know I'm not God, so maybe like a God, but I'm not the God, the Most High God. So I just want the best for my son. And just as much as I want the best for my son, I want the best for anyone else's child out there. The problem is not a lot of people out there that care about other people's kids as well as they care about their child. And that's where a problem is, because I'm almost thinking because they didn't have love, they don't care about themselves enough to spread that type of love to their children. But it's not that bad out there though, guys. It's not that bad, but it's bad because there's is to the point where even if the kid was brought up in a household of love, sometimes the mom not being wise to maybe teach their children or their child about certain things led the kid astray in a way by them having to go find the answers elsewhere because they didn't feel comfortable or confident to come and talk to their parents about something. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's not always the parent's fault, because the parent also grew up in a certain way. So you can see how it can become a generational curse. I want to break that curse on this family, on us not being taught financial literacy at a young age so we can overstand it once when we're growing up. I want to have some investments for my son. It's a privilege to be able to have that, and I want to gift that to my son. But of course, when you're breaking certain generational curses, it's always a spiritual warfare. That's why it's been so challenging. I'm now 32 years old, just now having the right mindset for to like attempt at least to achieve those type of goals. And maybe I don't know if anything would happen along the way for sure or not, but if it did, I wanted my son to know that this was my goal, to make sure that he is set up for life in a good way where he could pass it on to his children and hopefully continue it forward. I'm a bit sleepy, so I apologize, guys. It's like 4 o'clock, about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was about to go to sleep, but then I thought there was a couple things I need to do, and it just came on my mind about this situation after I saw this little. I was gonna put something on that was like soothing, and then I was flipping through a couple shorts and I saw this, and then I instantly felt this energy of like, I thought I needed some more healing, but that's not what it was. It's just that it's like maybe it was like kind of an anxiety. I was gonna say a fear, but more like an anxiety of my son growing up and hoping he doesn't have to think he has to fit into a group. Like I pray to God that he has the spirit of discernment. That's one of the things that I prayed for. And I pray that for the rest of the children out there that's going to need it. The kids that will be open to receiving the spirit of discernment, and the families that'll allow, like, because like this world is not a good place when certain people allow themselves to be an open door for certain entities, and sometimes it's unwilling, sometimes it's willingly, and sometimes they don't know exactly what they're opening themselves up to. And I'm thinking about that because like people tend to like want to fit in, and if they have some friends that's into doing some witchcraft, and the kids don't necessarily know exactly what they're doing, they're not like professionals, they just going off of something they read in a book, but it winds up cursing them. I don't want my son getting caught up in none of that stuff. And I'm pretty sure there's other parents out there that don't want that for their kids either. But the problem is some parents don't think that deep. And hearing me talk about this type of stuff right now, other people won't even think that is that deep. They'll be like, well, she's doing too much thinking, or it's not that deep. But the thing is, it is deeper than you think. Just because you don't think it's that deep. That's why we have a lot of turmoil going on in the world now in this broken matrix. So I just wanted to, hopefully me talking about it, if it comes across someone's channel or their feed, it could, you know, spark some interest and get you to think deeper on that subject and maybe want to do something about it instead of only just think about it, but actually possibly work towards making some changes, the changes that you can make here in this lifetime with what you have, and using what you have to obtain something better. Leave your kid with more knowledge than you had from what you learned. Don't be stingy to pass down knowledge, because I do notice that there's some parents out there that's jealous of their own children, and it's like they want their children to fail because they can see that light in their child that they may have seen, that they used to have, that they no longer have, that aspiration, that desire to live and be free and happy, and that spark in their eyes. And it's like some wickedness being the parents, and because they didn't have it, is so bad that they don't want their child to have it. So that's the other dangers. That's why they have enemies. But like somebody told me, we can't have the good without the bad. And I already knew that before they told me, but them reiterating it just let me know, like, maybe that's kind of what makes it balanced. But, you know, I'm not going to lie. It do seem like at times, like, there's more bad than good. So we need to, like, recalibrate here or something. That's most likely why I'm talking about this right now. I hope it helps, guys. And I'm not trying to bash the children, but it does look like some energy of some fakeness in here. That's what really caught my attention, is like I could see some fakeness and some that's bad because I don't know these people, and if one of them, but I'm just saying, like, for real, I ain't even sugarcoating it. You can see some fakeness up in here, like, you know, it ain't really what it's cracked up to be. Like, right after this, somebody could be having jealousy or envy towards somebody and want to shoot a nigga right, not too long after they finish this party. Like, man, they'll be all like this together, but then talking mess about each other, man. Like, man, you saw what that man had on, man. Like, man, you were looking at my girl, blah blah blah, and then want to go kill a person, and y'all was just in the room partying. Stuff like that. That's what I'm be saying. Like, that's why I don't want my son having feel like he needs to hang around these type of people. That's not saying they're bad, but it has that energy, like somebody ready to pop off. They like that gangster energy, like somebody finna get in the emotions. If one thing go wrong, somebody setting somebody up to kill. And I'm not saying exactly these people, but it just reminds me of something, things that happened in the past, where it seemed like every time it was like supposed to be a fun getaway, or so we were supposed to be doing something. It's like nowadays people, you gotta be careful, because people be setting up parties. That is a thing where they say throw them a party. It's a woman that's a psychic investigator on YouTube that talked about that too, and they even said it in a movie. like throw him a party. They make parties just so that they could make someone seem like it was an accident, or that it was just a natural disaster, like it was a mishap of the person passing away or overdosing or on something, whatever the case may be. It's and the parties was to basically essentially unalive somebody in some type of mysterious way to make it seem like it was an accident, or it just happened. And yeah, like setup vibes pretty much. So just be careful out there, people. Not to try to be a fear monger, just be mindful of those things. That's all. Like you can still, even if you do go to these parties, just watch your back when you go. Like pay attention to people's facial expressions, they body language. Y'all know what it is, cause it ain't just tripping. Because people, even if you don't have no psychology degree, you know what it means when somebody look at you in a funny kind of way, like they disrespecting you by the way they looking at you. Mostly people that have emotional intelligence can really clearly see that. Because some people be like, man, why are you looking at me like that? Just because somebody turned their eyes and looked at you, you might interpret it wrong and be like, oh man, that man got a problem. But no, you know for a fact when somebody looking at you in a way like they got a problem with you. If they do and you don't know who they are, you never met them, just keep your eyes out and stay away from them. And I'm gonna be having these type of talks with my son when he get a little bit older, and it's time for him to be like out there in school. That's why I'm kind of trying to wait till he can communicate a lot better. So if he is out there, if I did happen to have him like in a public setting, like a public school or something instead of homeschool, so he, because if I homeschooled him, I still was gonna have him in programs where he can still interact with other kids, just so he can develop those social skills, but and not like be a total introvert. But I just want to make sure he can communicate with me first, so that if anything did happen, I don't have to just go off of my instinct only. I can ask him questions. I can be like, so what happened today, honey? Or like, stuff like that. Like, how was school today? Or he tell me himself, mommy, blah, 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 blah. Like now he probably won't be able to do that. He'll just be like having a whiny look on his face, and he'll be like kind of crying. He probably wouldn't, he didn't develop the vocabulary yet, and I'm still working on it with him to like fully like communicate, tell me what happened, what was wrong with him and stuff like that, because it'll help make it a lot easier, and then he can start being like a little man out there on his own. I care about my baby, and I just want the best for him. And when I'm thinking about him, I'm thinking about all the other children out there and all the other moms and dads that might be scared for their little ones to go out there in the world. And when they grow up one day, knowing what kind of world we're in, it's not always peaches and cream. That's what gets me. Like people be like saying stuff like, you're gonna manifest it and make it happen, but the truth is, it already manifested. So there's evil that's already around, so you do have to be mindful of it. But I'm just saying that because I wish my family had spoken to us about that. And one thing that did help, though, I will say, is movies. By seeing movies, it taught me how this world can be. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll show my son some movies to get him kind of programmed so he can know these actions that you see taking place on movies is what people are capable of doing. So even though you see it on TV and they have it sort of as entertainment, there are people that are really like this out here in the world. So be mindful of that. Don't be afraid. Just have it in mind to know if you ever come across this situation, what you might need to do. Stuff like that, guys. Okay, 505, I'm out.